Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I gotta say is, who that? Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones, and yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And yes, I'm drinking on that Bloom. It's I guess like a special energy drink here. Shouts out to my wife for bringing it through. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Really do appreciate your time. And on this edition, we have a special guest with us. I don't even want to call him a guest, man. I mean, he's a good friend. You can catch us every single Tuesday during the NFL season and, talking NFC South football. He's a contributor. He follows the Carolina Panthers. You can check him out on the RoppStar podcast, talking about the Carolina Panthers. And he's a really knowledgeable individual, not just for Carolina Panthers, but the NFL in general. I guarantee you, you're going to love this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Clay Ropp. What's going on, Ropp? What's happening, man?
What's up? I appreciate everyone. I'm in enemy territory. Do I need a duck?
Nah, man. Nah, not that kind of show, though, man. Look, we love talking sports, and we love, just talking about the NFC South. And thank you so much for your time, man, sliding through to talk to us a little bit about your Carolina Panthers, man. First off, let's start there, man. I mean, the last week of the season, that was a very exciting game. You can argue and say that probably was the most exciting game, going out of the 2024 season. And most teams, they'll probably look at this like, man, Cancun on 3. But it really seemed like Carolina was trying to prove something. What do you come away with watching your team? And are you optimistic about what 2025 could hold for your Panthers?
I mean, Bryce Young coming off the best game of his career, right? In that last 12 weeks span, you saw him grow. He went from 2 worst games at the beginning of the season, being benched for 4 or 5 games down that stretch, and then just comes back and just rejuvenates himself, right? And especially going into Atlanta, beating Atlanta in Atlanta and having a 5-touchdown game. You watched him just grow and just get more comfortable. You see him on the field. He got a great pocket awareness. He's starting to just throw dots. Like, we were finally seeing what all Panthers fans were hoping for, right? From the standpoint of him just being what we drafted him to be. And that's the toughest thing to take away from this, was to really see him just grow. I think that's the biggest thing I took away from it at the end of the season, is just his I think we finally saw what we've been looking for. And it was really a shock to me, because and you even said it on the NFC South, and like you even said, Clay, maybe you're being too harsh. Maybe you need to pump the brakes a second and give this kid, and think about where he started with the whole Frank Wright situation, the whole GM not bringing in the right talent around him, not having an offensive line, not having the weapons around him to really develop, and have that coach to actually really work on him and develop him the way he should have been developed in the first place.
Yeah. I always say this, we're so quick to judge these quarterbacks, fair or unfair. But I look at the spot that he was in. He was the number 1 overall pick. And to make things even worse, the guy who went after him came out the gate looking impressive. And I just think that really hurt him in a lot of circles. And I don't think people try to sit around and wait for quarterbacks or any player of that matter to figure it out. It's like, this player right here figured it out. Why didn't you? But, I think that what is kind of crazy. And this is why I feel like Carolina Panthers fans in some regard need to be optimistic about Bryce Young. He got benched very early in his career, man. And that could hurt a lot of quarterbacks if they're not made of the right stuff. I think by looking at what he did, like once he got back out there, like he took the challenge. He didn't just sit back, because you got to think about this. This is a guy who's been told he was great his entire life. And now you're telling him he's not good enough, but he rose to the occasion, man. So that's what was the most impressive thing to me about Bryce Young, about this whole situation. And I'm also impressed by some of the young talent that you all have on that side over there, man. I mean, Hubbard, he just recently signed a contract, but you also have Xavier Legette, him coming over from South Carolina. And another breath of fresh air. A lot of people wasn't really talking about it, but he really made some plays, man. Jalen Coker really made some plays, man. And then you also, you got your tight end, Jatavian Sanders. The sky's the limit for the Carolina Panthers. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the young talent that they brought to this football team. What were your thoughts about them during the 2024 season?
Honestly, I didn't really expect with Xavier Legette, because we traded up to go get him, right? So I was just like, I felt like also it was a bit of a reach to trade up for him, because I felt like he would have fell where we were at in the second round if we wanted to get him. But then we went and traded up traded basically up with the Rams, but they gave us a future second round pick. And that's what we're getting. That's where we're at now, because we lost that pick to the Bears in the Bryce Young trade. So getting Jonathan Brooks, I was thinking, man, he was technically the best running back in this draft, right? And he looked like the next coming of Bijan Robinson coming out of Texas all over again. So I was like, okay, maybe this ACL tear, he did it back in November. He'll be okay. He could be that 1-2 punch, that thunder and lightning that we're looking for with Chuba Hubbard. I was like, all right, this is going to work out. Then he retore the same ACL in that knee, and he's not even going to play in 2025. And honestly, how often have we seen players come back from tearing the same ACL? The only two people I can think of off the top of my head is Adrian Peterson and Thomas Davis Sr. There's the only guys that I can think of that ever came back from that. Now, if there's others, so be it. But then they go and get Trevin Wallace, who stepped in when Shaq Thompson went down. I thought he did very well for a third-round pick. Wasn't very high on him, but obviously a very high motor. Great tackling. Doesn't miss a lot of tackles. Not very good in pass coverage, but very good in the run game. He's able to fill his gaps, do what he needs to do. Then they brought in Jadavion Sanders, and the sky's the limit for him, because he was technically in that draft last year. He was technically tight end number 2. Yeah. So, and you got him in the 4th round, which was an absolute steal. And he showed out and showed some plays until, later on down the stretch, he had that gruesome hit against Kansas City, and it was weird. You thought he landed on his head. You thought he broke his neck. Man. So I didn't know if he was going to come back like Kurt Angle or what, but and then you got Charles Smith-Wade, who's just a developmental nickel guy. I think there's a lot of potential there, but as of right now, he is just a guy that you're going to develop. So you bring in these guys, then you undrafted Jalen Coker comes out of nowhere, which I thought for him, I watched this tape and I was like, man, this guy can jump out the gym. And I was just like, he can go up and get it. He can create separation. He's got great footwork. His hip movement is fluid. Let's see what this kid's got. And they took a chance on him, and it seems like it could end up working out. I feel like Xavier Legette can. I think the biggest question that everybody looks at that wide receiver room, though, for Carolina is that who is going to be that true number 1? Is it going to end up being Jalen Coker? Because he looks like for a guy, even though undrafted, because he has the potential. Is it Xavier Legette? Possibly, but again, we saw a lot of drops last year, but he was dealing with an ankle and some hand issues. So coming out of South Carolina, he kind of had those issues. And then it really kind of got worse down the stretch. And then, of course, he had to have surgery this offseason. But the man look right now, I just retweeted it, saw him in a workout video. The man looks like he's put on weight and he seems a lot faster, which is insane.
Yeah. I like both guys. It's always great when you find like the unheralded guys, like the ones that fly under the radar. The Saints, they found that in Rashid Shaheed, and Coker, he definitely made some plays. I think that Xavier Legette, I think that he just, has to figure it out. I think that he can be a true number one. But in the meantime, I mean, you still have Adam Thielen to provide leadership. But let's go ahead and fast forward to the draft, man. I was looking at your draft picks as you were speaking. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The Carolina Panthers have a total of 9 draft picks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, you start with the number 8. It's a pick right before the New Orleans Saints pick at 9. And, I've heard so many different conversations from shouts out to my Carolina Panthers friends and buddies, and individuals that follow the team. Everybody has like their thoughts and views about what they need to do with that pick. I've heard they can trade back, maybe, as somebody, add some more draft capital. I've heard like them going after Tedoroa McMillan, but, based on your, analysis and based on, your feelings, what do you think they need to do with this number 8 pick?
I mean, the last time I checked, Carolina had historically the worst defense in the league last year and was allowing over 30 point, I think it was 31.4 points a game. And it was also allowing over 100 and basically 180 yards. The exact number is actually 79.8. Wow. But basically 180 yards rushing per game. Right. I get that we want to go and get Bryce Young, that true number 1, because again, Carolina is one of those fan bases that they just can't make up their mind. They're so indecisive. It's crazy. And then if you go on Twitter, it's even more toxic. I mean, it's like a toxic relationship, man. You just can't get out of it. You know what I mean? The only way to get out of it is unless you just break up. And so, but that's just the way it is. And so, but yeah, for me, it's just like, how can you say, well, let's go get Tyler Warren. Let's go get T-Mac. I don't even have T-Mac as my number 1 wide receiver in this draft.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, man. I was going to ask you that because, man, you spent countless hours. Like, man, when we did the mock draft over on the NFC South roundtable, I mean, you were just spitting out like just facts and stats and analytics on just these guys. So that was my question for you. Like, do you see that wide receiver that's worth like picking at number 8? Because like you mentioned, a lot of people aren't as high on Tedoroa McMillan. I don't know if it's maybe the podcast in which he said he didn't really care that much for watching film, or just the fact that maybe people have seen some holes in his game. But what are your thoughts on that, man? Like, is there a worthy wide receiver to pick at 8 that you can count on and say, hey, that guy can be Bryce Young's number 1 receiver?
If we did go wide receiver 8, which I don't really hope we do, because I feel like you could get Golden or you could get a Buka or Burden in the mid to even probably that top 12 to top 20 range. You could get any of those guys. Right. And I feel like that 15 to 17 range in this draft is the strength of this draft, in my personal opinion. I think that once it drops off, basically after let's say the top 5 guys go, you got, which is Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, in my opinion, Cam Ward, and probably, I guess in everybody's opinion, would probably be Will Campbell or T-Mac, but really give or take who you're looking at. Maybe Ashton Genty is up there, but like really after that, like who are these elite guys? Who are these blue chip players? Like this is a depth draft. I feel like this is a big time depth draft and a lot of mainly defense, right? I think this is going to be one of the best defensive draft classes we've seen probably since the 2019 era, when you could have gotten Max Crosby in the 5th round, which is insane to think about.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I just think that for me, if there was a guy and we had to go wide receiver at 8, a plug and play guy, it's Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. It's not even close. Like, people don't realize what this guy can do. You watch his feet, it's fluid. Separation skills is there. What does Bryce Young need? A guy who can create separation, guy who can open up the middle of the field. Also a guy who can go up and get it. You've seen Emeka Egbuka. If you watch this film, he's a guy who can go up and get it. I just look at T-Mac and I'm just like, man, this guy can't create separation. And when he gets man press, he folds. And that's the biggest thing when you watch his film. And Emeka Egbuka can do it all. And that's the thing that I like about him. Luther Burden, I'm a big fan of. He kind of reminds me of a Deebo Samuel pro comparison. Because when you watch him, you see it on film. I mean, big body guy, but I feel like Xavier Legette could be a Deebo Samuel. So why would I go and get Luther Burden, right?
Yeah.
I think another fit is Matthew Golden, because the speed. You need speed. What was Bryce Young's favorite receiver when they won the national champion, or no, was it his Heisman year? It was either the Heisman year or the national championship. Who was his number one wide receiver at Alabama? Jamison Williams. He can run a 4.3. He had over 1,500 yards at Alabama that year, and Bryce Young threw for over 4,000 yards.
Yep. Yeah. I think that if the Panthers go wide receiver, I definitely feel like they need to use that type of logic in order to do it. But with that being said, all those guys worth the first round pick. Like Egbuka, like you probably get him in the second round, maybe. You know, like he can be, I think he'll be there. Like, you got to think about you got Teteroy McMillan. I mean, Matthew Golden, Burton. You got Jaden Higgins out there for Iowa State that's climbing up people's draft boards.
A huge sleeper for me is Noel.
His teammate. Yeah,
Jalen Royal, who reminds me of another DJ Moore. You know, you also got Alec Ayo. I can't pronounce his name, out of Stanford, but because I know if I pronounce his last name, I'm gonna botch it like crazy.
I know what you're talking about.
I mean, that's another guy too. You know what I mean? But yeah, but it's just like, I mean, man, there's so much talent in here, so much depth. Like, even that's why I'm like, even Carolina, if their guy's not there at 8, trade back. Just trade back. Yeah. And you the problem is Carolina's not one player away. People in Carolina, we have these, again, I want to make this clear. Carolina is a different fan base. Okay. One side of the fan base, it's like politics. One side's the right side, one side's the left side. Then you got the neutral people. Okay. Which is more the realistic people like myself. Okay. You got the right side who are just like, oh, we're the quarterback away, we're whatever position away, and you're just looking at them like, are you out of your mind? You know? And then you got the one side over here, it's just like, we suck, we stink, we're never going to be good, we don't have any talent, we need to just sell the team and blow it all up, you know? And then you got the people like myself, it's like, you see the talent, but this is what we need to do, and we're not this far away.
Right. Yeah. Look, I think that this is definitely, like you alluded to, this is a depth draft. Like, a lot of people look at the first few picks as, you know, those are the top guys, and everybody else kind of get in where you fit in.
Right.
I'm kind of shocked though, Clay, that you didn't mention Jalen Walker to add to your team, man. Do you think that he would be a good fit defensively? And do you think that he can be that tone setter to be able to help Carolina turn the page defensively?
I think people don't realize this, but I'm a huge Jahad Campbell fan. I think Jahad Campbell is the same type of player, but more explosive. That's just me personally. I've watched this film. I've broken down his draft analysis, and when I watch this film, he's the same exact player, just more explosive. Yeah. And he's a tackle machine. He wants to hurt you badly, and that's what I want. I want someone that's going to come out there and hit you so hard, it's going to make you think about your life choices. All right. Like, that's someone I want. He is somebody that can cover guys. He can play outside. He can come off the edge. He can go up and cover tight ends. He can play in the mic. He does it all. and he's bigger, faster, stronger. And it just blows my mind that, yeah, I know Walker is another guy that's built for chaos too. He's twitchy, he's fast, he's aggressive. You can plug him into Evero's defense, let him wreak havoc off the edge. Great. I'm fine with that. But again, also at the same time, I'm okay if we don't get Walker and we ended up just shocking the world and going and getting Mike Green, because guess what? Besides Abdul Carter and where Carolina needs an edge rusher, Mike Green's basically the most production guy we've seen in this draft class besides Abdul Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at with the Saints, man. I just think that based on what I've been hearing, I think they're more than likely going to go defensive line, offensive line even. But Jalen Walker, to me, like, he kind of just checks the boxes. He's that sideline to sideline guy.
For sure.
Now, Jahai Campbell, like, don't get me wrong, I definitely agree with you. But I just think that when it comes to like what the Saints actually need, especially like turning around and changing this defense, then he could probably be that guy. I mean, I just was impressed by him, man. Like, just watching his film, because when his name kept coming up, I'm like, man, let me see and see what everybody's talking about. And you can easily see why. He's highly touted, but I don't look at him as just if he ends up being a really good player. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't see what I see when I look at Abdul Carter. I just don't. But I think that he will be a great addition to any team that needs a defensive anchor on their team for years to come. I think he can definitely provide that. But let's talk a little bit about the South as a whole, man. I mean, the Saints, the Panthers, Bucks, and also the Falcons. Like, just looking at the landscape of the NFC South, I mean, it's been pretty – I just got to be honest, it's been some pretty bad football coming out of the South over the last couple of years, man. But what gives you that optimism that Carolina can turn it around and maybe possibly be there in the end to try to win this division?
I think I need to see what this draft does. At the end of the day, I need to see what we do in this draft and how it pans out. And if we make any moves after that, because, teams still will do that even before going into training camp, right? So, I really need to see how it goes. I'm very optimistic right now because we have a young, solid core. And we've got a top 10 offensive line. I mean, last year, Carolina we went from allowing 63 sacks to 1 year to 36. That's a huge difference, right? So we had one of the lowest pressure rates. I mean, it was going on from probably basically from week 2 all the way up to like week 15, week 16. We were in the top 10 in that. So that's number one. I mean, just the improvement we saw on the offensive line, the Bryce Young turnaround was also huge. The young core receivers and tight ends and the skill set team, basically, I call them, those toolbox of players, man, they just, they keep developing. Now, the biggest thing is Carolina, can they find another weapon for Bryce? I think a weapon or two to help him out. I don't think we need another running back badly, even though I don't think that it would hurt to get that. But you got Rico Dowdle, man. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season. I think he's a nice compliment to Chuba, actually, really. But, I think the defense is huge, and you've got to go and get your edge rusher. I mean, we only racked up 32 sacks last season, and that's the team as a whole. That's bottom. That's bottom.
That's not good.
It's not good. If you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, you're not getting the defense off the field, and then you're not putting Bryce Young in good situations to even score points. And that's another thing that people don't realize. It's like, listen, we don't really need a true number one. We just need to put some guys around him that can get open, create separation, have that speed that he did with Jameson Williams at Alabama, get a defense that can get the offense back on the field in good field position and set them up, the offense up for success. And you win football games that way. That's how you win football games. That's why the Eagles did so well last year. They relied on a good run game. They ground and pound. All Jalen Hurts had to do was throw it up to A.J. Brown up the seam half the time, and then the defense did the rest of the work.
I just think that sometimes teams make things more complicated than what they have to be. And you just got to be able to come up with a game plan, know what you have, and and try to make sure that you put the right pieces in place in order for your team to be able to succeed. Like you mentioned about with Bryce Young, he just needs the right cast of characters that fit his skill set, that basically maximizes his strengths. And if they do that, man, they definitely can be in contention. Got a lot of Carolina Panthers fans in the chat, man, and just want to see, like, do you want to you feel okay with answering some of the questions we have here?
Oh yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so strolling down here. Black Fry says, we just need speed at wide receiver. I'm not a fan for trading down at 8. Okay, all right. So he's saying that he's not a fan of trading down at 8, but you talked about like some of the benefits of doing that. Like, I'm a firm believer in and feel free to chime in on this. If you know that you mentioned Emeka Ibuka, right?
Yeah.
If you know that more than likely you can get him at that spot by trading down, like you don't have to get him at 8, and you can trade down and get the same guy. Isn't that a win, Clay?
Oh, for sure. It's a win for anybody. If I could possibly trade down, and I put this scenario in my head, I probably could trade the number 8 pick to the Dallas Cowboys and get their number 12 and their 44 second round pick. Right. Guess what? I move back 4 spots. I get Mike Green and I move on with my day. And I got an extra second. And I could go and get either Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel in the second round. Guess what happens? You just killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a firm believer. If you trade down and you have somebody on your draft board and you end up getting that person, like, I just think that it's a win, especially like when you're a team that's trying to figure it out, that's trying to get depth pieces. Like, and we know how important that is. Like, we know that a really solid draft can create cornerstone players. Like, I always talk about the Detroit Lions and what they did. Like, a lot of their core players have come through the NFL draft. So if you can collect as many players as possible and your front office is doing their job, if Dan Morgan is out here doing what he needs to do in order to bring in some top quality talent, I just think that's a win, especially like you can end up getting a really good, solid wide receiver to complement Bryce Young, a really good defensive pass rush, like you mentioned, and Mike Green. Like, who wouldn't want that? Says Mason Taylor to the Panthers seems like a nice fit.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Mason Taylor? LSU Tiger, really had a really good, solid combine, really upped his stock, man. The people had him look more like a late 3rd round pick. Now people are having him as a 2nd round pick. Would you be okay if the Carolina Panthers selected Taylor with in the 2nd round, maybe?
I honestly think I could see him falling back to possibly the 3rd or the 4th, just because of the way this draft is. I think a lot of teams are really going to go heavy defense, and I think a lot of the defensive players are going to go early. So I think you have to go get your defensive players early. So I think tight ends and wide receivers are still going to fall. I think running backs are going to fall too. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the skill set players are really going to fall in this draft, and you're going to be able to find some blue chip guys from a skill set standpoint in the 2nd, 3rd, and possibly 4th round. But just because of the way that how deep this defensive draft is, you're going to want to get all the guys you can on defense, right? Mm. So, but I do like Mason Taylor. I mean, when I watch his film, and I watch a lot of film, just on my spare time, and it just because I enjoy it. I want to know who's out there and stuff like that. So, and I only watch like 30 minutes of their film, but that's all it takes sometimes. But
right.
Yeah, but I think he's a reliable play for sure. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most explosive, but his football IQ is absolutely top notch, man. Yeah. Steady possession guy when you watch him. He can move the chains, provide a reliable target in that short to immediate game. He's a guy that does make a lot of sense for Bryce Young because he can open up the middle of the field, and you need that. Bryce Young loves throwing up the middle, but every time he does, his tight end's not there, or the guy that he thinks is not there is not there, and it ends up being an interception. We've seen it time and time again, but he needs that guy that can do that. I think the thing is for me with Mason Taylor, though, is his upside is very limited. I think his floor is high, but if you want a dependable second tight end, I like it, but I already had that with Tommy Tremble. But I do like Mason Taylor. I like the 6'5", 255 frame. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that his upside is just very limited.
Yeah, my final question for you. I mean, you all are pretty much set at the quarterback position, but looking at this NFL draft, there's been a lot of talk about the quarterbacks and are they highly touted? Will they be franchise guys? Just looking at some of these quarterbacks, Cam Woods, Shadur Sanders, and Jackson Dart. We'll just start with those three because that's what everybody's been talking about. What have you seen from these quarterbacks, and do you feel like they have franchise caliber talent inside of them?
I think a lot of these guys are, besides Cam Ward, to me, he's the only guy I see as a franchise guy. I think Sanders has the tools to be a franchise quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he's just not a finished product. I think the arm talent is legit. I think the poise is impressive with him. The ability to process defenses, that's where it needs work for him, right? He definitely has that it factor, but again, if he lands somewhere behind a bad O-line, his development's just gonna plummet. It's not, and it's gonna be bad. And you have to surround him with the right system, and he could be special. Jackson Dart, I think he's better than Shador. That's just me personally. I just,
you're not the only person that feel that way, man. Like I've heard that quite a bit.
It's just that because Dart plays like he's trying to prove something every single snap. That's the thing that he is just so impressive with him, because he benefits from that, and it doesn't deteriorate when he plays. The guy, and another thing is he's got a cannon, and he can just make plays off script, and that's another thing that I like about him. But mentality gets him in trouble. That's where it ends up. Like if he makes a bad play, you won the game. You've already gotten his head, right? So he's got to learn how to rein that in. But the upside is there. I think another guy too, I really love, and I love that when you picked him in the NFC South when we did the mock draft thing, man, I like Jalen Milroe. I do. I think the guy's got the raw athleticism. I think he's got a cannon of an arm.
Yeah.
But the problem is his decision making. Yeah. And it's like 1 minute he turns a play into this highlight reel you might see on the ESPN top 10. But then it just ends up, then you could go and you could see a play that could end up being a not top 10 play on ESPN. That's the thing that he does. So I think if a team is willing to be patient and develop him and help with his processing ability, you have a star on your hands.
Yeah. I think that it matters where you go. If Jalen Milroe goes to the Rams, I think that's the best place for him. Like I see, we did a mock draft on Bleacher Report last week, and they had one of the Steelers representatives, and he had the Steelers selecting Jalen Milroe. I was like, I don't know about that one right there, man, because he's a work in progress, like you mentioned. He has to go to the right situation. He has to surround himself with the right coaching staff. And I think that Sean McVay, I think that will help him too, man. Sometimes these coaches that are really good play callers offensively, defensively, sometimes they get a little bored, man, and they need somebody that can be able to kind of rejuvenate them. We know that he talked a couple of years ago about possibly stepping down as being a head coach. I think that with the addition of Jalen Milroe to the Rams, I think that might help him, and he might take it upon himself as that new challenge that he needs, a breath of fresh air. So it might be a really good
language there. That sounds interesting. The Rams is with Sean McVay and having a guy with that raw athleticism. I mean, could you imagine where that could take him as an athlete with a guy who's just such a QB smart guy, and he gets to sit behind, I think, one of the most underrated quarterbacks we've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, I love Matthew Stafford, man. Like when they were trying to trade him, I was like, man, I hope the Saints try to get him. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Matthew Stafford, man. I mean, he has like this toughness, and I think that early in his career, he dealt with a lot of injuries and people kind of just wrote him off, but he's always had that arm talent, that ability. And if you can, get, with him, I'm talking Milroe, and learn and develop under him, I think that he'll be ready to rock and roll, man. I think that Sean McVay Like I said, I think that he will come up with a game plan that will work for him, and I think it'll benefit everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Clay, thank you so much for stopping by the State of the Saints podcast, man. Shouts out to all the Carolina Panthers fans in the comments right now. Thank you all for coming over as well. Before you go, just let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, man.
Yeah, I'm always doing constant content, man. On my channel, the RoppStar Report. Come over there, check me out. You can follow me on X at RoppStar92_. You can follow me on TikTok. Constantly doing NFL content, not just Carolina Panthers. I give my take on every team in the NFL. But also you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook as well. Any of that, same thing, RoppStar92_. So you can follow me all there.
Yeah, man, make sure that you follow RoppStar Report. Like I said, Clay does an amazing job, covering the Carolina Panthers, but just his overall knowledge of the NFL, man, is very, very impressive. I enjoy looking at your content. So make sure you all follow him and support his channels and platforms. Clay, thank you so much, man. Definitely going to chop it up with you, and I look forward to, doing commentary on NFC South Roundtable every Tuesday, man.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I look forward to ripping each other's heads off every week.
Yeah, I love it, man. Appreciate it, Clay. Take care, man.
All right, you too. Peace.
Yeah, man. Shouts out to Clay, man. That's my guy right there. Yeah, make sure you check out the NFC South Roundtable, man. We talk NFC South football, and shouts out once again to all the Carolina Panther fans that came over. But now it's time for us to talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints. And if you're watching this on a Wednesday, you already know that General Manager Mickey Loomis spoke to the media on today. And, I think I counted that he said the phrase, "I'm not going to answer that," 11 times. I could be wrong. But during that press conference, he said, "I'm not going to answer that" a total of at least 11 times. And, at this point, I'm just wondering to myself, like, what's the point of even talking to this guy? Especially when he's not going to give you anything. The majority of the reporters were going to ask you about Derek Carr, and he quickly shut that down. He quickly just said, "You know what? I ain't going to say nothing to you. I ain't going to talk about no Derek Carr, this, that, and the third." Look, the whole Derek Carr situation is just downright embarrassing. Downright embarrassing. I know it. You know it. The entire world knows it. That is just pretty freaking embarrassing, man, that, he's dealing with these injuries and you end up giving him this bread. And when we're hearing that they didn't even know about this injury in the first place. Look, I have already said what I felt about Derek Carr. Derek Carr is thin-skinned. Anybody else that would be a starting caliber quarterback in the National Football League, if a team was looking for a young quarterback, they would take that as a challenge. I mentioned back in 2017 when I was talking about Patrick Mahomes, when the Saints told Drew Brees that if Patrick Mahomes was there at 11, they're going to draft him. And Drew Brees responded and said, "Well, I hope he likes sitting on the bench," because Drew Brees wasn't ready to retire. That is what you want from your starting quarterback, not somebody standing in front of a Rolls Royce trying to be petty and basically just so thin-skinned to a point where and things don't go your way at all, you want to go home. And this is something that we have seen from Derek Carr. Derek Carr went home when Josh McDaniel benched him, and now we're seeing the same thing again. I don't understand why anybody would want Derek Carr as their starting quarterback, because the first time anything don't go his way, it just seems like to me he's going to have himself a little, he's going to act like a petulant child and he's going to whine about it. And the New Orleans Saints, they deserve better. And the longer this guy is on the team, the longer this guy is on your football team, the worse the message looks, the way it is perceived. Because it looks as if you act like you just need this dude, like he just the best thing since sliced toast bread. Like, it's not sending a really good message, in my opinion. It's not sending a really good message to the fans. It's not really sending a really good message to the NFL as a whole. And you have yourself a first-year head coach in Kellen Moore. And I don't think that a guy who is trying to win over the Who Dat Nation, who is trying to let everybody know that, okay, I'm the head coach and I want to steer this team in the right direction. it is not a really good message. I don't think that the New Orleans Saints need Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr wants to be with the New Orleans Saints. So I say, go ahead and let dude go. Go ahead and let him go. Go ahead and release him because that's what he wants. Instead of him coming out here, he'd rather sit up there and just try to throw those smoke signals out there so he won't look like the bad guy. This has been the calling card of Derek Carr since he has stepped foot in New Orleans. Throwing people under the bus, throwing the brick, hiding his hand. And I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of it. This guy just throws the brick, hide his hand. He's about as fake as a $3 bill. And, like I said, he's a good person on the surface when it comes to family and all that kind of stuff, the things that are important. We all know that. But when it comes to the way that he carries himself as a football player, I don't want no parts of that. And I don't think the team needs any part of that. I'd rather go out there with Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler and watch those guys try to play the quarterback position to the best of their ability, knowing that they want to be here, than some guy that has never won nothing a day in his life in the National Football League act like he Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. All of those quarterbacks that I just named are better than Derek Carr. Derek Carr has done nothing in his entire time in the National Football League besides pad stats in order for the fanboys of Derek Carr to try to validate him. Everybody that you talk to around NFL circles tell you that he ain't it. The Raiders coaching staff at the Combine a couple of years ago, the year where the Saints signed Derek Carr, basically alluded to me that he wasn't it. So if the team that he come from say that he ain't it, the people that follow the NFL tell you he ain't it, what makes you think that he it? He is not it. And the Saints can do better. You got to be able to embrace the future fully. You cannot keep looking in the rearview mirror. There's this old saying that said, do you ever wonder why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror? Because it's more important to know where you're going than where you've been. And where the Saints been with Derek Carr is in the dark ages. And I've been in the dark ages of Saints football when I was growing up as a kid. And I don't want to go back there. We don't want to go back there. And as far as Mickey Loomis' press conference, look, anybody that thought that they were going to sit down and watch Mickey Loomis provide any type of clarity for any particular thing, I just think that you are a very, very optimistic human being. Mickey Loomis has been talking loud and saying absolutely nothing for years. The only difference is now he has your undivided attention. And now it's like he's not going to do anything. But I will say this. I will give Mickey Loomis some credit in this regard. I heard him say for the first time in a press conference, it seemed like he took some levels of accountability about the state of the Saints. No pun intended. He said that the team was 5-12 and he understands that people are angry and they want better results. And he understands that it's on him. I was actually shocked. I actually was listening to Mickey Loomis as I was cleaning up my kitchen. So I had my earbuds in. I had to stop what I was doing and look at my phone because I was actually looking at it on this New Orleans Saints YouTube channel. And I had to make sure that this was actually Mickey Loomis that I was listening to, because he finally told people that he has taken accountability. So it's a good thing to take accountability. But at the end of the day, we need results. We need results because I'm going to stand on what I say. And for those on social media, I see what you're writing, I see what you're typing, but I don't care. All right, I'm not going to waste my time for individuals that don't want to take the time to watch your boy do his thing on the State of the Saints podcast to provide clarity for you, where you just looking and finding my stuff through tweets. If you are not going to take the moment to take the time to check out what your boy is saying, and you basically just getting the cliff notes, I have no time for you. I don't care what the New Orleans Saints do with the number 9 pick. It doesn't matter to me. Do I feel like the New Orleans Saints should go after Shedeur Sanders? Yes, I do. Do I feel like the Saints need a quarterback? Yes, I do. But if they go get Jalen Walker, I do not care. I'm going to clap for it. If the Saints get Oman Mimbu, I'm happy for that too. If they get Calvin Banks, I'm good with that too. I do not care. It still don't defeat the fact that Mickey Loomis has looked like trash as a general manager over the last 4 to 5 years. I mean, it does not take away from that. People are just trying to find satisfaction in believing and hoping in a football team. That's cool. It's okay to say that you love something, but it ain't going the way that you want it to go. Mickey Loomis has not been doing a good job. He hasn't. The Saints have been whiffing on draft picks. Yeah, for every Marcus Davenport, yeah, you can find somebody that's going to go out there to validate your argument that they ain't as bad. But when we look at Davenport and the Peyton Turners and the Trevor Pennies, you know, and I know that the New Orleans Saints ain't doing a good job. Ain't doing. I got to go country with it. Ain't doing a good job at drafting these players. But if your sole purpose is to make sure that I'm quiet, if that's your sole purpose, you rather look at what I'm saying, which you know is true, but you rather look past that because I don't know, for some apparent reason, maybe you don't like the present that, or the package that the present came in. I don't know. But all I know is if you being real with yourself, you know that the New Orleans Saints have not been doing good when it comes to the draft picks. And we know that the New Orleans Saints have the 9th pick in the draft, and they need to find somebody that is going to be a generational talent. It doesn't matter about, oh, man, yeah, I told him, man, look, he said that such and such wasn't going to happen, and it happened. Well, you're going to get them wrong sometime. Who cares? I just want the New Orleans Saints to do the right thing with the 9th pick. Bring somebody in that is going to make this team better at that respected position. That's all I want. But at the same time, we're going to keep it 100. Mickey Loomis ain't looking like he it. I don't care who feelings I'm hurting. I don't care who's watching this. I'm pretty sure a lot of people from that organization watch this, whether they want to admit it or not. Dude ain't it. And he has not been it for quite some time. And if you want to pretend or get mad at somebody saying this, then do something about it. Because if Mickey Loomis comes in and takes those 9 draft picks that the New Orleans Saints have, and the majority of those draft picks end up being cornerstone players, you won't hear from me. Because I don't take pride in talking about a team that I cheer for as long as I can remember. I'll just say 4 years old, just for the sake of this particular conversation. I don't take pride in talking about a team I watched my entire life, but we're going to keep it 100 here. And another thing, yes, once again, I like Shedeur Sanders. Yes, I feel like he would be a good fit in New Orleans. Yes, I don't feel like his personality bothers me like it does some people. Some people just want the old shuck G golly type guys that ain't going to say anything, that's not going to stand up for themselves, that's going to shake hands, kiss babies, and oh man, I would want my daughter to marry him, or I would want to go out with him. He seems like a nice guy. Who cares? This isn't a popularity contest. This isn't Miss Teen USA. This isn't Miss USA. This isn't Miss Universe. This isn't Miss Congeniality. This is about playing football. This is about W's and L's, wins and losses. Are these guys clutch? Are these guys clutch? Can they come through in the clutch? Can they make plays when plays need to be made? This guy's not running for public office. This guy is not running for a Miss America pageant. The guy is playing football. And we know that this is not about this dude's skill set. Well, for some it is. But we also know that there is something or a systematic thing going on right now to try to discredit this dude at every angle. And I cannot believe that people don't see this. Whether you like Shedeur Sanders or not, this is a prime example of individuals that want you to act a certain way, to sound a certain way, to carry yourself a certain way. And if you don't, they're letting you know that we can control the narrative. Because I already told y'all, man, this is the year in the world of the NIL, not the NFL, the NIL. So you know what that means, folks? These players that are top players coming from the high school ranks to the college ranks, they come and they go to these universities, and these universities throw a substantial amount of bread at these dudes. And if they're going out there performing, they're going to get more endorsement deals. So by the time they go to the NFL, they're already rich. And no, they don't have that type of money. The NFL will probably be able to offer them, but they rich enough to not be okay with the conversations that we're having right now. I don't know if some of y'all remember a couple of years ago, but there was this big controversy. It was when Dez Bryant was coming out of Oklahoma State. And I want to say it was the Miami Dolphins. I could be wrong. If it's not the Miami Dolphins, I apologize. But it was a representative from them or some other NFL team, and they asked a very personal question to Dez Bryant about his mother. Now, in those days where they didn't have an NIL and Dez had to sit up there and had to swallow his pride to answer that question instead of probably telling them people where they can take that question and where they can shove it, he had to sit up there and do it. And this is what this is all about. It's about control. It's about wanting to control the narrative. It's about wanting to control those players. The media, some of those guys, you can walk up to some of these players back in the day and ask them questions, and those players were kind of nervous and they would answer your questions because they don't know who you're representing or who you are rubbing elbows with. Now it's like, we don't care. And a lot of people are mad about that. A lot of these people are in their feelings like Derek Carr. Maybe that player walked right past you. Maybe your representative or your assistant probably reached out to him for an interview and they probably told you thanks, but no thanks. But we need to go ahead and put some of these personal vendettas to the side and appreciate this guy. Yes, he is not everything that you want in a quarterback, but the man can play the quarterback position. He has proved to you that he can win football games. He's a completely accurate quarterback, and shame on any individual that is following these narratives. You're a coward. I'm going to say that right now. You're cowards because you're so afraid of your position or losing your position. So you're willing to go out here to be a good soldier for these organizations that's not brave enough to come out and say why they wouldn't want to draft this guy. So you're doing their dirty work for them. So shame on you. You're doing it for the access. You're doing it to rub elbows with these organizations, and that's straight up 100% whack. Whack. And I don't care who doesn't like what I'm saying. There's this old saying, hit dogs holler. If I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about you. But some of y'all are trying to go out here and doing the work and the deeds of the devil, if you get what I'm saying. And that ain't cool. These are personal shots. These are shots that has nothing to do with football. This has absolutely nothing to do with what this dude can do in between those lines. And for that is absolutely distasteful, disrespectful, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Should be ashamed. I don't care. Like, for people that are evaluating Shedeur Sanders, for those that are evaluating Shedeur Sanders and looking at him and evaluating him and saying to yourself, and saying to yourself that, hey, this guy's pretty good, but I don't think that he will fit my football team. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you at all. I'm not talking about those individuals. I'm talking about individuals that are out here that want. I'm trying to adjust my camera. Trying to turn off that motion. Excuse me. Apologize for that, folks. But yeah, man, that situation right there, man, that just upsets me. That just absolutely upsets me. And I just don't get it. I don't understand why they just out here on this just on his rampage, man, trying to just discredit this dude. And then you're going to put out a story a couple of days before the draft starts. Pathetic. Mickey Loomis has a bad reputation for being general manager for our team with salary cap issues on their players, got injured like that. For real, for real. Look, I don't care who don't like it. Like, people don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They want you to sit up here and lie to them. You know, people get mad at me because I ain't sitting up here talking about, well, this is TJ Jones, Timothy J. Jones of the State of Saints podcast, letting you know that the Saints are the greatest thing since sliced toast bread. And I know that some people don't like the Saints, but they just hating on the Saints. They just hating on them. They don't want to see a player be great. That's what they want to hear. They want you to lie to them. I'm not here to put your mind at ease. I'm here to give my opinion based on what I see. My opinion is, you know, something that I take a lot of pride in doing these podcasts, but I'm not here for that. If we got to sit up here and lie to kick it, I don't want it, bro. We confident in our ability. We confident. We already know. We ain't got to be sitting up here selling ourselves short because we believe, you know, I believe in what I'm doing. And if I got to sit up here and lie, like, I'm cool, man. I'm good with that. Like, we got to open up our eyes. We're going to evaluate accordingly. When things go right, we're going to adjust accordingly. But we're going to hold a foot to the fire in the process. This team needs to get better. Hopefully, Kellen Moore can answer the bell and make this team better as a head coach. And some of the players that they bring in, this could be the start here in the 2025 NFL draft. But we haven't seen that yet. And right now, Mickey Loomis, the only reason he has a job is because of his position and what it has been over the last 20 years. Anybody else in his position that didn't have the power and the stroke that he had would be fired. You know it, and I know it. Why are we trying to put a square peg into a round hole? Why are we trying to make this masterpiece look a certain way? We trying to tilt it, right? We trying to tilt it to the left. We trying to tilt it to the right. Nah, bruh. There's a smudge on it. You can turn it any way you want to, but there's a smudge that is compromising this masterpiece. And I don't feel any. I don't feel bad at all about saying this. Dude just needs to get better. And if he does get better, then fine. But until then, we're going to keep on talking about it. That unanimous report was just trashy. Yeah, unanimous. And look, I get it, man. You don't want to cite your sources. I'm not going to sit up here and be a hypocrite about that, because when I came out and talked about the story with Aaron Glenn and people like, man, you don't know nobody. You don't know nobody. You don't know nobody. I understood what that was. I understood what it was. It was the fact that people wanted to try to back me into a wall. I say, you know what? This is who I got it from. No, sir. No, sir. So I get it. I understand why you don't want to leak anybody's name, because maybe next time you go to that person, they won't be able to give you any information, because if by citing their name, probably cause them to lose their job, or probably would make the organization maybe, I don't know, have these type of conversations an hour before you show up to work, or maybe not ask you to come in at all while a meeting is taking place. So I can understand why you don't want to out your sources, but it's still in bad taste. And I've been telling y'all this, and I'll say this again for those that are probably new, that probably stumbled across this channel, probably wondering why this black dude just sitting up here yelling and screaming. But I'm gonna just tell y'all this, all right? I got an opportunity to go to the NFL Combine. Yes, I went to the NFL Combine. Went there in Indianapolis, and I can remember standing at the podium waiting for Shedeur Sanders to come out. Shedeur Sanders was at podium number 1. Cam Ward was at podium, I want to say 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly which one, but they were close to each other. And while we were waiting around, there were mumbles. There were mumbles going on around reporters, and they said that they didn't like the interview with Shedeur Sanders. People were talking about his knowledge at the whiteboard. They were talking about the way that he was answering questions. And they also said that basically he understands his offense and what, he's done throughout his time in college. but he didn't really understand like the concepts in which the teams were asking him about, or he seemed like he was disinterested. That's where it started. That's when I first heard it. And when I heard that, I was like, this is about to get ugly. This is about to get ugly. I heard by sitting down, like while we were watching the showcase, people were talking about the Browns out, Giants out. So it didn't really surprise me when I heard about the Giants and the Cleveland Browns, selecting other players. It didn't surprise me at all because of what I heard when he was going through the interview process. Now, this is stuff that I heard just standing around waiting. So it don't surprise me that, maybe some of these teams went in a different direction, and why you have these insiders that will probably come out here and be bold about one thing, and then a couple of days later kind of backtrack, and now, he might get picked between 3 and 21. Like, what are you actually saying here? Like, how much of a wide open space can you give somebody, right? From 3 to 21. Like, it's like he gonna get picked somewhere in between there. That's like me saying, man, he might get picked between pick number 1 and pick number 250 something. Like, duh. He pretty good, so he might get drafted somewhere. The fix been in for a minute. Long story short, folks. The fix been in, and it's been like that for a while. The shots had nothing to do with the interview. You can't say those things about him for your interview. Is most definitely personal. Yeah, definitely personal. Because I already told y'all, this thing is about control. It is about control. It's about wanting to control individuals. Power is a funny thing. When you feel like you have power and basically you can get people to do anything you want them to do, like anything you want them to do, and or they're going to get fired, or you might take something away from them. You'll never work in this town again. You'll never get another job. When they know that they have that type of control, when you tell a person like that, I ain't got to listen to you. I don't need you. They don't know how to take it. They don't know how to take it, man. Rather you're rich, rather you got some level of influence. I don't care if it's big or small. If you feel like you can determine somebody's fate, if you feel like you can actually move things around for a person, in order for them to have success or failure, it takes a special type of person to not want to utilize that consistently. And like I said, you have people out here that are upset because you have these new age NIL collegiate athletes coming to the professional level, and they ain't got to sit up here and take your junk no more. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to write this article, and I'm well respected, and I got millions of people following me, or I got this team, and look, this is my organization. Like, so I'm gonna stick the knife in you. I'm gonna stick a fork in it. You're done. I saw an interview podcast yesterday with Shadir Sanders. He low-key mentioned wanted to throw to Chris Olave and be a Saint. I mean, I seen that too, man. But I mean, he talked about them. He talked about the Steelers too, cartel. And but I don't know, man. I would be highly shocked if the New Orleans Saints draft Shadir Sanders if he's there or not. I'll be shocked. I would be shocked if they draft, because man, y'all know. And it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. It's just the fact that so buttoned up, so predictable. Like, it just, and you just want to see something different sometimes. TJ, when Mickey Loomis was doing his press conference, I had to mute him. Look, I get it, but first off, I had to listen to what he had to say because I wanted to talk about it here, but he didn't really say anything. Like, you wasn't going to get too much from him. He talked about like some of the like draft practices and stuff, and having guys, that may be ranked or rated the same way, and you have to kind of decide which position you want to go in and what player that you want to have. And he used examples like Deuce McAllister and the late Will Smith, to try to validate his way of thinking. Of course, he's going to do that because those are two of the biggest success stories in Saints football. So, of course, you're going to bring them up. I wonder what they use when they decided to go and pick Marcus Davenport over Lamar Jackson. I'm interested to know what they were thinking when they decided to draft, no disrespect to a pretty decent player, Cesar Ruiz over Jordan Love. I would just love to know what they were actually thinking when they drafted Peyton Turner, when you had plenty more players that you could end up drafting in that position. I'm just wondering to myself. But of course, you're going to bring up Deuce McAllister, and of course, you're going to bring up Will Smith. So I'm just saying, like, come on. Of course, you're going to use the things to big up yourself. But I just would like to know what they used when they were drafting those guys back in the day. Mickey looked and sounded lost at the podium. I don't think he lost, man. I just think that he didn't want to give people too much of anything. I get it that you have a media obligation, but Mickey Loomis never says anything at all. He says a lot and not say anything at all. And, like I said, I just don't. I don't know, man. He is what he is. Like, he's not going to give you anything. He's not going to really say too much. That's just what he does. Yeah, that's just Mick. That's just Mickey Loomis. Side question: did Will Smith ever meet the other Will Smith? I don't know. That's a good question. I would think they wouldn't cross paths. They would have to actually probably connect online in order that to happen. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be in the same place. Juvie DiBiase. TJ, did you see that video where Shedeur Sanders blew out the birthday cake, but it was beignets? Nah, I didn't see that, man. I didn't see that. Honestly, at this time, Juvie, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I understand and hear about what's going on, but I'm at a point. I just want to see the draft. I just want to see the draft. I just want to see what these boys gonna do. That's all I want to see. Like, looking at all this stuff and doing all this speculating and and all these semiotics and all this, it's almost like if you're a boxer, right? And when you're trying to sell a fight, you go to all these different towns and you're talking and you're coming up with all this different hype and trying to get people all excited. And then there's a couple days before the fight, 2 days, a night before the fight. You're like, man, enough of all this talking, right? They go to the weigh-in, they make weight, they hydrate. Somebody might ask them a question, man. I'm tired of talking, man. I'm ready to fight. That's just the way that it is. Like, all this talking, all this hyperbole, it's been great. From a podcasting perspective, I enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure, like, talking to you all and breaking this thing down, the mock draft 1.0, 2.0, 20.0, but I just want to see what they're going to do. I just think that the time for talk is over, and let's just see what they're going to do. And hopefully they make the right decision that can better this organization, and we can have some much more tolerable Saints football. Because my goodness. It says, all I know is if we are going to draft a quarterback, it needs to be Shedeur or Jackson Dart. All I know is we better not draft Jalen Miro. Well, look, I have no problem with Jalen Miro, but if you're drafting Jalen Miro, William, I will say this. You definitely want to make sure that you have a starting quarterback plan in place, because he is not going to be one of those guys who is going to be an instant starter. I was talking earlier, shouts out to my guy, Clay Ropp. He was on the show earlier in the episode here, the interview I did with him, and he was just talking about Jalen Miro, and we were talking about him aligning with someone that's a seasoned veteran at quarterback and a really good head coach. And I mentioned like him going to the Rams, but I don't think that would be a good spot for him, because unless you about to sign a solid veteran quarterback, then you're not going to just throw him out there because he's not ready just yet. Like, he'll do some good things and he'll show some flashes and he'll generate some excitement, but it's not going to be where you want it to be, in my opinion. I just think that he needs to sit down and be able to learn from a veteran. Why is the black quarterbacks are almost always vilified in the media? Shadur has never been in trouble and Deion has improved as a coach. So where is it coming from? I have no idea where it's coming from. I don't think in this case, I don't even think it has anything to do with, I think it's more so of him being the son of Deion Sanders than it does with anything else. Like, I just think that it just comes down to people just don't like the confidence, and they just don't like the fact that he is not walking around hat in hand, and just, like I said, oh, shuck, gee golly, happy to be here. Oh, man, look, it's the old lady right here. Excuse me. Let me go walk her across the street. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't do those things, but I'm just saying, like, being super extra about it, right? Like, he believes in himself, and he will tell you that he believes in himself. And people don't like that. People don't like it. I often say here, people want to talk about how great you are. They don't want you to tell them how great you are. It's just something about it. It's just something about confidence that bothers people, because we will hype up a guy who goes out and does a remarkable thing all the time if he doesn't say anything about it. Let's take Barry Sanders, for example. Barry Sanders' touchdown celebration was throwing the football back to the referee. And it didn't matter what Barry did. I seen Barry bring about 3-4 defenders down to their knees, had them out here looking like they doing, y'all remember that dance back in the day, the pop, lock, and drop it. Like, man, had them boy knee bent. I mean, one of the most remarkable, spectacular runs you ever gonna see in your life. Like, and he'll just throw the football back to the referee. And people talk about, oh, man, Barry was so great. Oh, man, he's such a great guy. Oh, my goodness, that's the way the game needs to be played. But if a guy is great and he tells you about it, everybody wants to see that dude lose. That's just what it is. I mentioned Floyd Mayweather. Back in the day, it was Muhammad Ali. It is Conor McGregor. It is individuals that are great at what they do, that tell you that they're great. People just automatically just turn them into the villain. If you're quiet and great, they love you. If you're loud and great, get this bum out of my face. That's what it all comes down to. We love to see arrogant, cocky people fail. Shadur Sanders believes in himself. He has a high sense of belief in himself. He will tell you about himself, and people don't like that. Respectfully, it has to do with the color of his skin, TJ, in my opinion. I mean, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I always say this, and for those that have been here, I apologize if I sound like a parakeet. I sound the loudest because I'm on a microphone. My opinion and views is no more important than the way that you feel. From my perspective, that's just the way that I feel. That's the way I feel. But you're entitled to feel how you want to feel. Because who the heck am I to tell you that's not the case? When people say that, I just say to me, or I don't think that's what it is. So I want to make that very clear. You're well within your rights, Chris, to feel any way that you want to feel. Because, people, on the last episode, and I'll take a few questions and then we'll go ahead and end the show. I mentioned Arch Manning. And I was talking about how people just quick to anoint Arch Manning as the next great quarterback. And this guy hasn't played a full season of collegiate football yet. The only thing people are looking at is the fact that he had two uncles. Both of them just so happened to be really successful and have won football at its highest point, which is a Super Bowl championship. So with that, he has that going for him. So when people look at, what is he, number 16, and they look at Arch or Manning on the back of his jersey, people just, the representation means something to them. And I had to ask myself the question, why doesn't the Sanders representation, when he showed you that he has the capability of playing a quarterback position, and ain't nothing you got to speculate. I guarantee you, if Arch Manning comes out and be great, I will come here and say that, man, that guy's going to be a number 1 overall pick. But I don't know that yet. And some of us don't know. And some of the same things that we are accusing people who are rocking with Shedeur Sanders, you're doing the same damn thing. I'm sorry, anybody that's out here doing that and talking about Arch Manning and tanking for Arch, and you have a issue or a problem with Shedeur Sanders, like that's hypocrisy. Because at least Shedeur Sanders showed you that he could play the quarterback position at a pretty high level, completing 71% of his passes throughout his collegiate career. This past season had 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 74% completion percentage. And we like, but let Arch Manning do that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like we can't, like, sometimes like we don't even realize how biased we are about certain situations. That confidence, people hate Ali because of it. It is like you have to be confident and silent. Hell, if you don't like it, stop it. TJ, I normally don't ask you to stroll back to my comments you miss. You don't ask. And you do that almost every episode. Let's see, but I want your reaction to what I said about the quarterback situation. Look, I'll try to find it. Hold on, give me a second, Josh. Let me see what you said. Let me see. All right, so Josh says, we got to stop thinking quarterbacks and start thinking team. Tons of teams have won Super Bowls with average quarterbacks. Mark Rippon, I assume that's who you're talking about. Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer, Jim McMahon, Nick Foles, Eli. The list goes on and on. We don't need a star quarterback. To a certain extent, I do agree with what you're saying. Like, you don't necessarily need a all-world quarterback to find yourself in that position. But this is where I would challenge this argument, Josh. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about a moment, or are we talking about substantial, like a substantial amount of time? Because if you look at Mark Rippon, how many Super Bowls? Like, did Mark Rippon win 2 Super Bowls? Like, maybe he won 1, if I'm not mistaken. Right? I remember he played for the then Washington Redskins, and I actually liked Mark Rippon back in the day, man. I actually liked Mark Rippon. Let's take a look at his stats. I want to say maybe he won 2 Super Bowls. Super Bowl. Okay, so he won 2 Super Bowls. He was a Super Bowl MVP. All right, so that's fair. Then you talk about Nick Foles. Nick Foles won 1 Super Bowl. Joe Flacco won 1 Super Bowl. Jim McMahon won 1 Super Bowl. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls, but Eli Manning was much better than any one of them individuals that you just named. For a moment in time, I will say that you could actually utilize those quarterbacks, but if we're talking about sustainable success, because that's what people want, Josh. Like, people want continuous success. Like, they don't want, okay, a Super Bowl might satisfy you. Like, I'll give you an example. Back in 2009, the Saints won a Super Bowl, the first time in franchise history. It made us feel so great to see that happen. But we fast forward to 2025 and we're talking about a Super Bowl. Like, okay, yeah, we won a Super Bowl, man, but that was a long time ago. You get what I'm saying? People want continuous success. Like Buffalo, it like if you're a Bills fan, shouts out to Dalton. If you're a Bills fan, knowing that you lost the AFC Championship yet again hurts you. But to know that you have a quarterback that has the capability of getting you back there again and again and again, it makes you feel much better. If it's Trent Dilfer, yes, he can help us get over the hump. But are we just talking about for 2025? Are we talking 2026? Because Trent Dilfer, I mean, he was on the team, but we also know that he was accompanied by the greatest defense in the history of football, in my opinion, the 2000 Ravens. Jim McMahon, the 85 Bears are looked at as the greatest defense of all time. You needed some out of this world circumstances to happen in order for some of these guys to be in that position. A all-world defense, if you're talking Baltimore and Chicago. And I'm not breaking this down, but I mean, it's clear and factual what you're saying. But all I'm saying is, in this world today, people would rather roll with quarterbacks that they feel will continue to get them there. Like I said, the Saints only got one Super Bowl. But the fact that the Saints had Drew Brees after the 2009 season, it made Saints fans feel like they had a chance every single year to get back there. Hope is what is being sold to the fan bases across the National Football League, across the NBA, across the NHL, MLB. That four-letter word will keep a fan coming back. That four-letter word will have fans spending a bunch of money buying season tickets. It's the hope. It's the hope, man. So yeah, like you don't like to your statement. Absolutely, you do not need a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl, but you do need a franchise quarterback to sustain success and have success for a long period of time. TJ, what do you know about boxing? I do a boxing podcast, and it's a lot rougher than I thought to do a podcast. Look, I love boxing. All right, man. Look, I already told y'all. Huge boxing fan. Shouts out to my grandfather. Used to order all the heavyweight fights back in the 90s. I still watch boxing to this day. My favorite boxer right now, of course, Terrence Bud Crawford. Now, you know, everybody likes Terrence Bud Crawford now that he beat Errol Spence, but I'm talking about going back when that boy was fighting Gamboa. You know what I'm saying? Like when that man was eating them bologna sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying he eating bologna. Y'all get what I'm saying? Well, he was trying to climb up the ranks. He was eating that bologna and cheese. You get what I'm saying? And now, you know, you see what he is now. I mean, that's my favorite fighter right now, you know. But I mean, if there's some really great fighters that I've been a fan of growing up, Felix Tito Trinidad. You know, I was also, you know, a big fan Juan Manuel Marquez. You know, his fights with Pacquiao are just downright epic. Greatest fights of all time: Arturo Gatti, Irish Mickey Ward. Round number 9. Greatest round in the history of boxing. Yeah, man. Look, the catalog is long, man. The catalog is long. I love boxing. I can talk boxing with you all day. TJ, I'm going to keep it 100. TJ, the Saints need a franchise quarterback. We need it. Every good NFL team right now got one. I agree. Like what Josh is saying, like, makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's a good point. You don't need a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I just feel like you need a franchise quarterback if you have a chance of getting back there every single year. TJ, you're right. I do that all the time. Didn't realize. Look, man. Look, I'm just messing with you, Josh, man. Look, I appreciate it. Look, asking questions and stuff like that, man. Like I said, you could be asking questions to anybody. I appreciate everybody's question, comments, all that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I had to get you with the joke, man. Nah, fact, TJ Bud like that. Oh yeah, that boy the truth, man. But true. Okay, TJ, your opinion of who will win, Prime Tyson versus Prime Ali? Oh man, it depends on what it depends on what Mike Tyson we talking about here. Now, if we talk about custom model Mike Tyson, then Mike Tyson win. If we talk about post cuss, may he rest in peace. If we talk about that, then probably Ali. It's something happened to Mike Tyson, had a lot to do with Don King, in my opinion. We towards the end of the show, folks, so it's kind of how we roll. But prime Mike Tyson, post custom model, there's a difference. Like custom model Mike Tyson, post cuss Mike Tyson are two different fighters. If he had custom model in his corner, he winning. If he didn't have him, he not winning. He not winning. I would take Ali. How about wrestling podcast with WWE, AEW, TNA wrestling? TJ, man, it was so good watching WrestleMania 41 Las Vegas 4 days ago. Yeah, Jeremiah, look, I've been trying so hard to try to get together and try to revamp my TJ Knows Wrestling podcast, which, you know, I got back into wrestling, and I got back into it mostly because it's something I wanted to share with Paxton, and he's really starting to get into it now, starting to recognize, like, you know, different wrestlers. So it's pretty cool. And I did have a pretty good wrestling podcast, in my opinion. You know, I would take different topics and talk about it, and it was making some traction, but it was just, I kind of got out of it, and, you know, I wanted to get back into it. I did like a few episodes about a month ago, and all this stuff with the Saints started to happen, and then I had the Bleacher Report stuff, and then I had obligations at the radio station, you know, with my new position there. So it kind of took a back seat, but I definitely want to get back into it. You know, TJ, what do you think about Gervonta Tank Davis? I think that Gervonta Tank Davis is good. I just think that he lacks motivation right now, and I think we've seen that in his last fight versus Roach. I think that he he's like at a point where he can kind of pick his opponents, but I just think that Lamont Roach kind of caught him off guard, and I just think that he just lacked motivation. But I mean, this dude got sledgehammers for hands, and I just think that he's talented, man. But I just think that I don't know. I don't think he really into boxing, and I think he's losing interest. And I think that the best thing for you to do is try to find that passion again, or get out of it. Your reaction to Paul Heyman turning on Roman, that wasn't a surprise to me at all, Josh. Wasn't a surprise to me at all. Seeing that coming, you know, I even said that on social media. Shouts out to Trev. He was like, Trev does like I don't want to say a boxing videos on. He does boxing videos on TikTok, and he was like, "Man, everybody saw that, TJ." I'm like, "Shoot," but I'm the one that put it out there. Anybody can say it. Look, we all look like, you know, like, oh man, I knew that was gonna happen. Like, put it out there. Sometimes you're gonna get it right, sometimes you're gonna get it wrong. Right? That just gonna happen. And let's see. Look. Let me see. Honestly, majority of us really know football. We all know when it comes to the quarterback position, if you got it, you got it. A quarterback have to have that fight, a winning mentality, knows how to lead a team. A couple of these things on that comment, I can really truly say the Saints didn't have in Derek Carr. All right. And just for the simple fact that he would put out a video, that Carr video, rather you talk about when he did it, how long ago it was, the fact that he actually did it just made me just lose as a football player. It just made me lose respect for him as a football player. Like, seriously. Like, I'm good on Derek Carr. Look, I've said this before. I felt that it would have been a good fit for Derek Carr to come to the Saints. I really did. I thought that he would be, you know, something, you know, solid for the New Orleans Saints as they try to make this transition. But I can truly say I was wrong about dude. I said it a couple of episodes ago. I made a song about it, and I'm saying it again. Derek Carr ain't it. And he'll probably end up going to another team and probably playing some solid football. But I do not care. You do not need that type of energy around the team, especially for a guy that ain't that good to begin with. He's not that good, folks. He's not. And you're gonna have those Derek Carr fans out there, man. The analytics say that he completed 60-some-odd% of his passes, and when he dropped back and moved to the right, his percentage go up about 15%. And when he looked in the eyes of Chris Olave, every time he looked into Chris Olave's eyes, is another 15% that go up. And when he's sitting on the sidelines with a gray hoodie on instead of a black hoodie when he played for the Raiders, the team would lose 20% of the time. Like, you can put any type of analytics as you want to up there to try to validate Derek Carr as a good quarterback, but he's decent. Okay, that's just what you're gonna get from me. Decent. All right. Yeah, somebody walking in the room, you're not gonna do nah. You dressed, no, I'm decent. And you walk on in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you decent. He decent. All these analytics that y'all throwing out there is not like what them odds analytics tell you. we always want to bring up some what those odds analytics telling y'all. Timothy J. Jones' 2 eyes tell him that Derek Carr ain't a leader. Timothy J. Jones' 2 eyes tell him that Derek Carr, every time things don't go his way, he go home. Timothy J. Jones' 2 eyes tell him that when the Saints need to break away from a phone boot type football game, if they can't throw the ball down the field 50 yards and Rashid Shaheed ain't behind the defense, then more than likely homeboy can't deliver. That is what I'm saying. That's what my 2 eyes tell me. I don't care what the analytics say. Analytics, you can make analytics say anything. You can make them say it. Like, if you want somebody to look, smell, feel like a legit quarterback, running back, wide receiver, cornerback, there's an analytic out there for you. If you want somebody to feel like they're a great player, there's a video out there for you. There's a social media platform for you. His name is Wi-Fi Willie. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate it. Much love to each and every one of you. Much love to each and every person that checked out Saints Talk with Timothy J. Jones on the Bleacher Report. We will be back here on tomorrow. Not tomorrow, tomorrow. For a very special, what do we like? Well, when did we start doing this? I want to say 2020. So I'm going to say the 5th annual State of the Saints podcast live draft reaction show. Y'all know how we do it, man. We are here from pick number 1 to 32, breaking them down, every single team, talking noise, laughing, joking around. Y'all know how we do it, man. Some of the most epic videos, epic moments during this podcast have taken place during that draft reaction show, and I'm excited about it, man. So shouts out to everybody that has made that annual event magical every single year. We're back at it again. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you love what you're hearing. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Follow me on X at TJAYJones8. Also, once again, want to thank my guy Clay Ropp for stopping by, sliding through, talk to us a little bit about his Carolina Panthers, man, and what they need to do. And that's what we're going to be doing throughout the season, man. We're going to be talking Saints football, but we're going to have different individuals slide through, that talk and focus on other teams, man. The more this show grows, the more I want us to grow together, man. You know, we've got a platform here where we can talk Saints football, but we also got a platform here where we can actually talk about our love for football. Every time I talk about different teams, there's always several people in the chat that know players on the team that can just, spit out stats from other teams, so that's what we're trying to do here, man. We're just trying to grow the platform, but also staying true to what we love, which is the New Orleans Saints. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. And Also, the Roar of the Lion UK, I will be a part of on this Friday. Shouts out to those brothers in the UK, man. I said this last episode. I don't know how they found me, but it's always a pleasure to speak to them. I was on their podcast last year, and it was just amazing, man. I'm actually talking to people about the Saints in a completely different country. You know what I'm saying? In a completely different continent. You know, it's extremely humbling, and I had a lot of fun. So I'll be back there again. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
All I got to say is, who dat?